My people, it's about that time.
Like a boss.
Live from USA, helping you get paid every day. This is the boss of Bitcoin, the Cristo of crypto. It's your boy BK. And if you don't like me, you must not like money. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Today we are doing an episode called War and Bitcoin. We do indeed live in very interesting times, so we're going to be looking at the financial impact of global conflict and how that can impact the financial markets as well. Most notably, that which is blockchain technology, trying to assist you and facilitate the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of humanity. So if this is your first time tuning in, congratulations, baby. You are now rocking with the best. My name is BK, also known as a crypto trader, and I'm the boss of these charts, as you'll soon find out. Every day I grace this microphone with my voice is another day you can profit as a result, and today is no exception. So if you haven't done it, subscribe, like the video, turn the notifications on, all of the above, because we give away free Bitcoin every single Friday. All you need to do is leave a comment on any video I do, and every Friday a new winner will be selected. Every video I do is a chance to win, so just leave a comment. The easiest thing to do, shout out your city, let me know where in the world you tuning in from, and a new winner will be selected tomorrow. So good luck to you. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's jump into it. This is an article from today or yesterday. Bitcoin tumbles back towards 60,000 as tensions in the Middle East rise. Cryptocurrencies were under pressure Wednesday as it slid back to kick off what is usually one of its strongest months. That is true. Flagship crypto was off. Crypto exchange hovered flat. Yes. Here we go. Rising tensions in the Middle East dampened investor risk appetite as the new trading month and quarter begin. On Tuesday, Iran launched a weapon on these guys in retaliation for its recent unaliving of this person, right? So, surging unrest across the Middle East has propelled oil prices upwards and reinforced the dollar's strength, casting a shadow over Bitcoin and speculative investments, right? Because when your hands covered in blood money and oil, the only thing to buy is Wall Street, apparently. Said the chief operating officer and co-founder of Bitcoin IRA. So what's happening right now is there is indeed, global conflict within Middle Eastern areas. But that's not really what I wanted to focus on. What I wanted to talk about is what's happening behind the scenes, because I think all too often we just look at the cover story and we're like, oh my God, that's so horrible. But we don't know, there are hundreds of billions of dollars circulating and being spent and received by companies participating and facilitating this orchestrated conflict. Gross domestic product. What is the definition of gross domestic product? I'm glad you asked. Monetary value of goods produced plus monetary values of services provided equals GDP. Essentially, it's all of the goods, all of the products, and all of the services that any given country produces in any given year. That's GDP. Services and goods combined, right? I say all that to say this is a very, very, very interesting chart as recent as 2022. Top 40 countries in military spending. How much did the United States spend for its military in 2022, 2021? Almost $1 trillion, 876 billion. Keep in mind, the entire Bitcoin market, I think, is right north of $1 trillion. So essentially, the United States military could have bought all the Bitcoin on record, if they just wouldn't have produced one tank, so we got almost $1 trillion for the United States. I think when you look at another chart, it's basically the United States and then the next 10 countries combined. That's how much we spend on weapons of mass destruction. It's literally, a hypocrisy of democracy to think that this war machine isn't set up to profit when missiles strike. I think this little chart right here, military spending as a share of GDP, right there you can see we're kind of in that pinkish area. So I think that correlates to about 4 or 5%. To put that into simple terms, as 4 or 5% of your working dollars are spent on drone strikes, missile strikes, whatever it might be somewhere else in the world on behalf of democracy, of course. So essentially, easily, you could just say it's 30 days in a month. That's about a day and a half of your month, every month, is just, going straight to funding the largest military entity the world has ever known. It's almost, laughable, but this is the reality that we live in. This is why, some people, that accumulate a lot of wealth choose to be very clever with how they do their accounting so they don't pay taxes, because this is what your tax dollars are going to. 5% of GDP. That means 1 out of every $20 that the government spends is going to fund future destruction. I believe Dick Cheney said it best on stage. He talked about when the only tool you got in the box is a hammer. He said every problem need to look like a nail, and we got the biggest hammer in the world, $1 trillion worth. So every little nail is gonna get hit around the world. In fact, Mr. Cheney, people forget he was in real good with Haliburton. And back in the day, this was early 2000s, Haliburton stock went up. Actually, I'm gonna show you, it's 1,000% during the war in Iraq. And it's crazy. I'll let you, if you want to, pause the video and look for this. But it's a few publications that were written. But essentially, he worked for the Pentagon for a very long time and then took over the role of CEO at Haliburton. And right after he got done working at the Pentagon and got on with Haliburton is right around the time the United States government had to go and look for weapons of mass destruction and funnel tens of thousands of soldiers into Iraq. And this was like one of the first outsourced operations, because they didn't have a lot of soldiers in Iraq. So it's not like you had to send millions and millions and millions and millions of foot soldiers over there. You almost outsourced it to these entities like Blackwater and other organizations. Ironically enough, Blackwater was, seen, the last guy that tried to unalive Trump. He was actually in one of those Blackwater employment videos back in the day. So go figure, huh? Small world. It's crazy. But here we go. We now have a situation to where these companies are able to buy and leverage future politicians, right? So when you look at donations made for political campaigns, these companies are near the top of the list, right? It's crazy that we live in a world where votes are for sale to the highest bidder, and all too often it's the companies that have the most profit to make on one side by selling, $10,000 missiles, and the government is really just, pimping itself out for future conflict, right? So here's Haliburton stock. Again, this is the years of the war in Iraq, and you can see Haliburton back in the day, was $5 a share, and we got out of Iraq late 2011. When that happened, let's see here. get this one off. There you go. 700% over the course of that decade. So it's like causation, correlation. This is the working business model. Build these huge defense contract-based companies, strategic asset, supply chain, logistic, public perception controllers, and profit from plunder. I think it's a video that Nicolas Cage was back in called God of War back in the day. And it was very interesting just to see like how much they don't even show it. Wasn't it God of War, Nicolas Cage? Yeah, there you go. Lord of War. Okay. Same thing. But I talked about, the manipulation and the behind the scenes efforts that they go through to ensure these conflicts happen, because they don't care. You know what I'm saying? They got their hammer and that nail go have to get hit. So, political upheavals, coups, like the whole nine. It's really like a spy versus spy game. To funnel the next operation. I say all that to say that we now have a much more suitable, viable alternative. It's called blockchain technology. I talked about the ability for these companies to literally buy politicians, and it don't matter if you vote red, you vote blue. Monkey see, monkey do, and they all paid for and accountable and accounted for. So, blockchain technology, I believe, is a much more viable alternative when it comes to future governance. For much more capable of financial capability. As I mentioned, spending the money that the United States military spent last year on funding itself, you could have bought the entire Bitcoin market, like $1 trillion. Boom. Now you basically control the market. It gives you an idea of the smallest scale that Bitcoin is currently operating at, and the endless scale that government spending is at. I showed this chart before. It talks about what Bitcoin needs to reach $1 million per BTC. Right down there in state treasury, that's talking about government money. If we just get 1% of that gives us $3.8 trillion, which more than triples the current market cap of BTC. I've talked about black swan events and different things that could contribute to the cascade of money coming into the market. War is a profitable engine for economies. Like, we've been brainwashed and duped to hear on every mainstream media channel that war is good for the economy. Well, it is. When you got the current vice president or the former vice president sitting on your staff, and he done lined up a few decades worth of conflict in the Middle East to make sure you get them defense contracts, and you the primary subcontractor of choice. Like, that's the world we live in. This is the kakistocracy of capitalism. It's amazing just to see and witness this debacle of society, but yet and still here we are. I think one of the other things that's most notable to take away in this conversation, I said it before in one of my shows, like when you watch a football game, when you watch an NFL football game, we're receiving this entertainment at a cost, at a price, and that price comes every 7.5 to 8.5 minutes through these commercials. And I challenge you, I said, go and watch those commercials. Like, actually study what they're selling you every 32 seconds. Like, does that product benefit your life? Does it make your life better? Is it designed to help you? Or are they just selling you another version of poison designed to keep you plumb stuck and dumb? Just go do it. See what happened. You might surprise me. You might find something on there and be like, you know what, Brandon? I saw this one commercial and it changed my life forever. I'm probably ain't gonna come during the football game. And then what's interesting, when you look up the biggest advertisers, let's just let the internet tell us who it is. There you go. Gatorade, Visa, Campbell, FedEx, Frito-Lay, Pepsi, Castor, Motor Oil, Verizon, and USAA. They do a lot. And I believe the Army is one of the top NFL spenders. That's interesting they don't have them on here, because they certainly are. I think every time the Army flies one of those planes over for the national anthem, like, they're paying the NFL to be able to do that. Every time they take an American flag and run it down the field and wave it up and down, like, they pay for that opportunity. It's just interesting that now all of a sudden they're not listed on here. But nonetheless, I think it goes, just to show, like, companies are making money from the future destruction and contrived plan for civilization. So it's like, at some point you have to agree not to participate in the biggest charade of all time, which is currently known as global politics, right? A lot of people are choosing just to opt out. Like, I saw this one Instagram video, and it said neither. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you want? Do you want the egotistical billionaire, or do you want the bought and paid for lifetime politician? Well, I'm gonna vote Bitcoin for president. Like, if I actually registered and went down to the voting office and did the whole nine, like, I would definitely write in Bitcoin or Satoshi Nakamoto, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, I guarantee you there's people doing it. Like, I thought about doing it back in like 2012. So it's interesting to see. I guarantee you people are going to do that, but we've been duped. Like, this is the false bill of goods. It's like we're literally watching the machine continue to profit off the plunder of civilization, and at some point you have to opt out. And that's what a lot of people are doing. PepsiCo, there you go, because they're selling health by the droves. It's holistic, it's vegan, it's all of the great things you want to feed your children. It's Pepsi. So there you go. That's who the NFL has as its biggest advertisers. This is how tensions in the Middle East can adversely or consequently supplement the ongoing price of Bitcoin. And this is how we're literally just watching pennies on the dollar being converted in crypto. Right now, Bitcoin is at about $61,000. It's had a little bit of a pullback. I'm going to do an in-depth chart on it for tomorrow's video for the free Bitcoin giveaway on Friday. But I just saw this tensions in the Middle East, and I know it's only going in one direction. like all lines point, to one inevitability, and that is global conflict. So on the other side of that, we're going to have to start to rethink our priorities and ultimately start to, predicate a future that's in the benefit of society and not to its detriment. So with that being said, everybody, it's that time of the day. Signing out, boss. Boy BK, no matter where you stay, Brazil to Bay, California, all the way back out through Germany. Good night, good morning, and good day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. Hit that thumbs up button for a player one time. Do that for me if you appreciate mine. Till we meet again, stay cryptic, y'all. Peace.
Like a boss.
Huh? Armed.
Like a boss.